Sport, I started with autocross, then came into INRC. So that's how I started. And even to convince my parents, that was a tough thing. Like I remember my first autocross event was speed sprint, and I had taken my Isuzu V-Cross for the event. So even for that event, like I couldn't tell my parents that I'm going for a car race. And since the name was speed sprint, I told my parents that it's a marathon that I have to run.
Which has been your favorite format of driving?
Oh, it hands down has to be rallying. It's the only sport where you require more than one ball to play, if you get it. So other than that, see, it's such a technical sport, and your how do I put it again? It's a sport where you feel alive. Like the moment you're into the stage, and when you're driving, everything else becomes a blur. My first rally was Rally of Coimbatore 3 years back. I had built a turbo Polo, the 1 liter TSI.
Okay.
And as there's the thing that you never finish your first rally, that also happened with me. I could only manage doing 4 stages, and in the after the fourth stage, I had a puncture, and I drove with the puncture. Because of that, I broke my LSD, the limited slip differential, and I was standing.
साउथ इंडिया में ही सारा मोटर स्पोर्ट्स का एक्शन क्यों हो रहा है और नॉर्थ इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा? वाई इज इट नॉट एबल टू इवॉल्व इन नॉर्थ इंडिया?
See, one thing going back in history, motorsport mostly started in South India. Like, so many great tracks have been in South India, like from the MMRT in Chennai, then the Curry Motor Speedway in Coimbatore. Now there's a new coast track that's been coming up, I think close to Bangalore. So they've always been into motorsport, and such renowned drivers have come out from South India. Again, like people here come with sports cars, and people think that if I have a small hatchback, I can't compete against those cars. That's absolutely wrong. What they say is that with this, you can drive a slow car faster than you can drive a fast car. What I've seen, people before entering only, they'll soup up their car, they'll put on like a map, they'll put on tires, max to max they'll lower their car, but they won't focus on their driving, they won't improve their driving, they won't ask other top drivers what are they doing.
When in doubt, flat out. And that's exactly how Arnav Pratap Singh lives his life on the rally stage. His journey began with the legendary Rally of Coimbatore in 2022. And since then, he's been unstoppable. Arnav doesn't just race, he dominates, with an incredible 71 podiums in 39 events, including the recent Indian National Rally Championship in Hyderabad. South India, as he explains, is far ahead in motorsports, and Arnav is determined to close the gap with his razor-sharp focus, setting an example. His first rally car, a Volkswagen Polo that he convinced his family to upgrade with an additional 18 lakh expense, done up by Chettinad Sporting, which is twice the car's value, just for that rally edge. Now, he's here to show what a true rally build is all about, from power to precision. Buckle up, you won't want to miss this.
Arnav Pratap Singh,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm really good, on top of the world. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so happy and grateful that you've started this. It's been a amazing thing to see so many renowned people in our motorsport community to speak about the sport, speak about car culture. And this is one thing, like how normal people switch on some movie or like a YouTube video before eating dinner and watching it. I'm one person who will switch on your YouTube channel and then watch your videos.
I can't tell you how happy I'm feeling right now.
No, I'm so happy that you've started such a thing. Even when I'm traveling, I'm a big music fanatic, that I really love my music. But even on like road trips and stuff, if I'm traveling alone, I would switch on your podcast video, let it play, and I'll just hear. And that makes my trip also so short and so interesting that I get to hear so many good people talking about such good things on motorsport, getting to know their journey into the sport and about car culture. So hats off to you. And
Thank you so
keep
much.
at it, and looking forward to all other episodes, including mine.
Thank you so much. And I think more than that, hats off to you. I think what, 37 events, 38 events, and 69 podiums.
Yeah, somewhere around that. In the last 4 years now, I
4 years.
started somewhere around 2018, 2019, and since 2020, I've been at it, and I've been a regular from off-roading, autocross, rallies, and now slowly getting into drifting. So it's been a continuous journey, and it's not stopping. And I'm hoping that I've put my name into the Indian Motorsport Hall of Fame chart. That okay, there was this driver Arnav Pratap Singh who's
Dude, looking
been a
at
good driver.
Looking at the way you drive, I mean, I've seen you drive a couple of autocrosses, not many
Oh,
times,
lovely.
because मैं खुद भी, Piston Cup was like my first autocross. I had a great experience,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if you were there on Piston Cup. You were not there on Piston
I was
Cup.
in
हाँ.
somewhere in down south
Correct.
doing some rally. Yeah.
Correct. So उससे पहले BND का event हुआ था, वहाँ पे couple of times I had seen you drive,
Okay.
and the way you're handling the vehicle, I think it tells a lot about how much you understand the car, and I think that's one of the very important factors of being a motorsports guy. And dude, just hats off to you. And off camera you were mentioning you've got an extremely fun journey as to how you started driving,
Yeah.
so it'll be fun to hear that.
Yeah. So how I started, so I'll take you way back when I was a kid, when I wasn't even a year old. I had this uncle who, like my dad and this uncle who would just put me on the laps and just ask me to hold the steering and to drive. I started with that, and as a kid, like that time this must be around when in 2003 when I was like 3-4 years old. I wouldn't recognize car names, but I would know okay what family member drove what car. So like back then my dad had a Toyota Collis. So any Collis I would see on the road, I would say, oh, that's Papa car. My grandfather was in the army. He was a lieutenant general. So back in the day, he would have a convoy of army cars, like a black ambassador with a red siren light on top, and like two gypsies, like one ahead of him, one following him. So whenever I would spot an ambassador, I would say that, oh, that's Nana car and stuff like that. So I started slowly with that. A big role has been something, how can I put it into this thing perspective, that my dad has been also a very big factor that I've been a guy who's in love with cars. That's because he's a big light fanatic. He's very much into cars, and forte is lights. So he would let me drive wherever I asked him. He would put me in his lap and tell me about cars, show me his car journey back in the day where he modded his gypsy, his Collis, his sumo with lights and stuff. So slowly started on with there, and he's a pilot, so he flies commercially. So there's a funny joke in my house that mom says that one guy is there in the family who flies in the air, and then there's one kid who flies on the road. So it's a big dramatic journey for even my mom, that she gets so scared that her husband is just flying up in the air, I'm racing on the roads. And it's been hard also to convince them that okay, I want to enter into racing.
I've heard that journey.
Yeah. So that's also been a very funny story, and I'm really grateful to them to actually letting me continue the sport, since I'm the only child. They also have their thing that I'm the only kid. It's dangerous. It is a very dangerous sport at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm happy for them and everyone who supported me throughout this journey. So really grateful, and this thing
That's interesting.
that I'm here.
So what inspired you to get into motorsports? Walk me through that journey.
So motorsports started when I was in my school. So I've passed out from the Lawrence School, Sana. So I think this was in the year 2014 or 15. Sana hosted this cricket league called the Celebrity Cricket League, where all the big Bollywood actors would come and play cricket with our school team. So there, another old Olsenarian and veteran rally driver, Mr. Hari Singh.
Oh, he's from Sanar also.
He's from Sana
Okay.
also, and that was the first time I ever saw a car going sideways live. That too in our main soccer field in school. So Mini Cooper was there in school promoting their cars, and between the matches there was like a gap filler where they had to do something. So Hari Singh got into the Mini Cooper and started driving the car around the field. Now driving the car, the way he was driving, he was doing Scandinavian flicks. He was doing J turns. He was flicking the car from here to there, and the whole school went like, everyone was like, so impressed that someone can handle a car that types. So looking at him, that was the first instinct where I saw that okay, even I want to make the car dance like that. So in school also, like, we had a small cupboard in school.
Yeah.
So like how other students would place a family picture into their cupboards, I wouldn't do that. So in my cupboard, I would have a small MotoGP bike, a small rally car, one F1 car, and then I would have stickers of like Rate the Himalaya, WRC stickers and stuff like that. So I was very inclined towards the sport. And in school, during school, we were told to read newspapers also. So during those times, Rate the Himalaya was active. So I would read about Suresh Rana winning the raid, people doing Rate the Himalaya. So I always had the dream since school that whenever I pass out, the rally I want to do is raid. I had no clue about INRC, about autocrosses and stuff like that. So to my hard luck, when I passed out from school, Rate the Himalaya was shut. There was no raid, so that was a heartbreak moment. But then slowly I came into the sport. I started with autocross, then came into INRC. So that's how I started. And even to convince my parents, that was a tough thing. Like, I remember my first autocross event was speed sprint, and I had taken my Isuzu V-Cross for the event. So even for that event, like, I couldn't tell my parents that I'm going for a car race. And since the name was speed sprint, I told my parents that it's a marathon that I have to run. So the name matched with the marathon that it could pull off as a marathon name also.
That's innovative.
Exactly. So I went there. I went in the morning. I raced. As luck would have it, I won. Like, from God's grace, I won my first event. Came home with the trophy, and I told my parents that, oh, I ran very well and I got a trophy. So they're like, oh, wow, proud of you. Then slowly, to my hard luck, I posted some videos and pictures on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know from where did my father get to know that, I've done some car race and stuff like that, and he got to know that Arnav has raced. So then he asked me, okay, what have you been doing? So I told him, okay, there's this racing format that, you race against the time. And it's pretty safe, there's nothing to worry about. And it's fun, and I enjoy this. So again, both my parents said that, this is too dangerous. Why do you want to break the car? This is nothing fancy, just stop it. So now slowly, I had to make up excuses every time I would go for a race. I would tell them that, okay, I'm just going to see a race, I'm not driving and stuff like that. Then slowly, I start getting trophies. There were some pictures in the newspapers. My name started coming in the magazine. So slowly, they also realized that, okay, he's doing well for himself. He's not wasting his time and money. So, and plus he's not listening to us. So let him carry on. So that's how I started. Now they're okay with it. Now they only send me with the happy face that, okay, whenever you walk, win and come back. And come back alive. So that's how we started.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, which has been your favorite format of driving?
Oh, it hands down has to be rallying.
And
Hands
why
down
that?
has to- Why that? So I'll tell you something.
I mean,
funny.
what I mean to actually ask is, what is it about rallying that really,
Gets me into it?
Gets you into it, yeah.
So it's the only sport where you require more than one ball to play, if you get it. So other than that, see, it's such a technical sport, and how do I put it again? It's a sport where you feel alive. Like, the moment you're into the stage, and when you're driving, everything else becomes a blur. You feel every, like, it's like meditation. You drive, you feel alive. It's that adrenaline rush comes into you, and the way you can push a car, the speeds you can do, the way you can handle the car, that takes the cake. Like, you can't replicate it anywhere else. So that's how rallying got like impressed me, and that's how it became my first love and something that I love to do. So, and just to make the car dance with your control, that's art. So
Which was your first rally that you participated?
my first rally was Rally of Coimbatore 3 years back. I had built a turbo Polo, the 1 liter TSI.
Okay.
And as there's the thing that you never finish your first rally, that also happened with me. I could only manage doing 4 stages, and in the after the fourth stage, I had a puncture, and I drove with the puncture. Because of that, I broke my LSD, the limited slip differential, and I was standing. So that happened, and then I had to wait for parts to come in for my car and then start again. So then again I started with the 1.6 and then started winning and started learning.
The one which you're driving right now, the blue one, that's the 1.6.
That's the 1.6, yes.
Oh wow.
That's
I
the
think
1.6.
you're one of the lucky guys to actually have a 1.6 Polo.
So what had happened was after autocross, like I started doing well. My dad agreed to get me a car and build it for rallying. And I spoke to a lot of people. Then they said get a 1 liter TSR, that's the new gen car, and build that. So I got that car. For another funny story, so before getting the Polo, I still am a BMW fan. So I always wanted my dad that he gives me a BMW. So anyway, so remember this, alright? So I got the Polo.
Yeah.
Bought the Polo. Now we had to send it to Coimbatore for his rally preparation. Now when I got the quotation was around 18 lakhs. So now imagine the car's price plus another 18 lakhs just to build the car. So I went to my dad and I was like, okay, Papa, here's the quotation. We have to send so much of money. So he was like, just sell off this car. I'll get you BMW only. You drive that only. So again, now I had that option also. But then I told him that, okay, if I get the BMW, I won't make my name anywhere. Okay, yes, I'll go to a few car meets, I can do drifting and stuff, but I won't make my name with the BMW. So I convinced him that, okay, I really want to spend so much of money and building this race car so that I could race, show my potential and my talent, and then build a name for myself in the community. So luckily we sent the car to Coimbatore. Chetanat Sporting built the car, and then the car got ready, went for my rallies, and that's how I started.
So 18 lakhs. ये तो मेरे को भी नहीं मालूम था actually. But walk me through what all works have been done on your car. I mean, or essentially, I'm sure that kind of works have to be done on almost every rally car.
Every car. So the first thing that's needed is a rally suspension. That's Rigers what we use. Then roll cage, your seat belts, seat harness, ECU, an aftermarket ECU. Then a limited slip differential. And all your other works like from dirt tires, all the safety equipment, from your seatbelt cutters to everything, to your steering, your gearbox, intake, chassis strengthening, and all of this. So all this takes up for for a basic rally car preparation.
Okay. You never chose to, I mean, I've seen a few videos of you driving. You never chose to switch to an all-wheel drive conversion.
I wish we could do that now in INRC. What happens is if you get a all-wheel drive car, you can't run for the national championship.
Okay.
It's not homologated so that you become a national champion competing with that car. Even though you can come and run an all-wheel drive car, but you can't win the national championship. So the point goes away. Like, why race then? So, but yeah, if we had a chance to drive an all-wheel drive car, I would obviously love to do that. That's way more faster and way more difficult to drive. But yeah, let's see. Someday it happens. You never know.
Interesting. So a couple of questions I had in mind, because you are now, I mean, not in terms of time of course, but in terms of your seat time, I feel काफी solid experience है तेरे पास. I want to know, because there's this thing which I've also observed now over a period of time, although I'm not very active in motorsports, but I've just observed as an observer and as a car guy that साउथ इंडिया में ही सारा मोटरस्पोर्ट्स का एक्शन क्यों हो रहा है और नॉर्थ इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा? व्हाई इज इट नॉट एबल टू इवॉल्व इन नॉर्थ इंडिया?
See, one thing, going back in history, motorsport mostly started in South India. Like, so many great tracks have been in South India, like from the MMRT in Chennai, then the Curry Motor Speedway in Coimbatore. Now there's a new coast track that's been coming up, I think close to Bangalore. So they've always been into motorsport, and such renowned drivers have come out from South India.
Coast track is the same one which Bhupesh Reddy.
Correct.
Ah, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
No, that's the Brent Speedway. Coast is another.
Brent Speedway.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's another that I think Narain has this thing designed.
Oh, okay.
So again, plus in today's date is the mentality. Drivers, what I feel really bad about here when I started autocross, We had such big names when I used to compete here. There was Abhishek Mishra, Amanpreet Ahluwalia, Prateek Dalal, Karan Malik, Sahil Khanna, Achintya, who else? Arjun Rao. So many of such drivers, they all would fight like within seconds. Nowadays, what I've seen in autocross today is like there are only like top 3 drivers who are competing with them like under a second. That's like Srivatsan, Achintya and Karan Malik. After the third position, from like fourth position till like the 25th position, there's such a massive gap of time. Like what I see now in today's date is when I was racing, when I started, I would go to all the top drivers and ask them for tips that how am I driving? What can I do to improve? How do you set up a car? What driving input should I improve to get a faster time? In today's day, no one is like that. No one is speaking about that. After autocross, I want to get into INRC. I want to do circuit racing. All they do is they come in with their Pops and Banks tune. They have a massive spoiler, some stickers, and that's it. No one is coming into this thing sport just to become a driver. They're just there for the experience. That's sad, and that's why I feel down south people are much ahead. Like, no offense to anyone over here who's driving here. Like, hats off to you, even like you participating. That's also a courageous thing to get into the sport. But again, now here another big difference is in autocross we have so many categories. Now each category you can take minimum up, like you can take like 6 rounds, 6 entries in one category. So what generally people do over here, they'll take 6 rounds in each category. First 2 rounds they'll just do a recce. They'll see, okay, where is the car turning, how fast is the track, and then they'll remember the track and then they'll do their magic. Now in South India, imagine if you have 3 categories, you only get 1 run. So you only have 1 chance to put in your time. And in South India, from the guy doing the top 10 till the guy who's in the 10th position, everyone will be fighting under a second. So imagine top 10 guys with only 1 entry fighting in a second versus here taking 6 entries in each class and still having such a huge gap tells you about the level.
Wow.
So that's the thing. And plus in South India, the mentality of driving, like changing the setup after each run, from tire pressures, suspension to each and everything, they'll be at it. They'll be sitting with their tuners, their mechanics. After each run they'll give a feedback to the tuner and the mechanic. They'll share about what the car did in the track, how are you feeling with the car, how the suspension setup, was it too stiff, was it too soft, is the car turning, is it understeering, is it too bouncy. We would come back and share all this thing, whatever like happened in the run. Here you do a run, people will just say, oh wow man, I did such a nice timing and I was so fast. But if you see the time, they're all like 5-6 seconds off the top guy. So that actually tells you the driving level, like the difference of, there's no benchmark. Only like there are again like people here come with sports cars and people think that if I have a small hatchback I can't compete against those cars. That's absolutely wrong. What they say is that with this you can drive a slow car faster than you can drive a fast car. So now coming in with a slow car also, first don't look at the time, just first improve your driving with that car, at least maximize the driving limit of that car, then okay, start modding your car. What I've seen, people before entering only they'll soup up their car, they'll put on like a map, they'll put on tires, max to max they'll lower their car, but they won't focus on their driving, they won't improve their driving, they won't ask other top drivers what are they doing. They'll come with their friends and they'll just brag about the experience, but no one will even correct them that okay, you're doing this wrong. So I feel that's a big flaw this side.
Essentially, what should one do if one wants to learn to drive better? What should be the approach?
So see, do practice, go to top drivers, take tips, go on YouTube, research how do you drive well. Like I remember when I was starting, I would sit on YouTube all day looking at all rally drivers, watching their videos that okay, how do they turn, when are they braking, at what point are they turning, what all techniques are they using. यहाँ पे तो I don't see any of that. So what I suggest to all budding drivers is they come back, do your research, prepare yourself well, and focus on your driving before focusing on your car. Like, car is essentially 80% of your run, but your 20% also has to be the correct driving. So again,
I would personally say, dude, honestly, तू तो फिर भी 80-20 कह रहा है. मुझे तो, I mean, I personally feel it's like around 50-50. I mean, if that
Can be
50% of you is not there, your skill is not there, then even the greatest car that you have won't do anything.
You come, focus on your driving. Like, even like how Achintya can come so close to a Cayman in his I-20. He can come as close as Shrivas in his Cayman. Again,
Yeah.
massive difference in the cars, but look at the driving. Achintya is still there. Karan Malik is still there with his Jazz. So again, that happens.
So I'll ask a similar question, but I want you to give another perspective to it. And what I'd like to know from you is, what is it that people out here in our region are understanding wrong about cars and about motorsports and about autocross and driving in general?
See, again, what I mentioned before also, it's the mentality and the attitude of people. They come in with the approach of thinking that they know everything. That, okay, tomorrow if they get a car, they tune it up, they put good tires, good brakes. They think, okay, I've done so much to a car, that's it. I am the best driver. So that's where they go wrong. You know, after a run, they would compare the times. Again, like how I said, it's become experience, no? Had it been a proper competition, people would actually come out, improvise on their work, improvise on their driving, on their car setup. Like, I've seen people, they'll do 6 runs, like, after, and North India is like a hot kind of this thing. We have hot weather over here. Now, every time you run a car, your tire temperatures go up. The same guys doing 6 runs will not even come close to the tires and check the tire pressures. Like, imagine you're doing your first run at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, your tire pressure is set to 32. After the run, the tire pressure might go up to 34, 35. Now for the second run also, they'll go with the 35 temperature. The 35 PSI will go up to 38. They'll keep running with the same setup. That's where they go wrong. Now again, why does that happen? Because they don't, again, they're not aware about, you know, what goes into your tire pressures, how vital is your tire pressure when you're going to racing. So again, they don't, you know, want to learn. I think, again, a major factor what's been into them is that, you know, they are not inclined towards learning. Okay, they're already there with the approach that I know everything. My car is the fastest. I'm the best. So one should come with the approach that, okay, I have to learn. There are so many other drivers who've been racing since donkey years. They know the cars.
Yep.
Why is such that all old drivers are doing setups? Why aren't new drivers doing the setups? Again, so, you know, one should learn about the cars. First, understand your car. Take proper seat time in your car. Take feedback. Okay, if I'm running with, imagine, temperatures of like 32 on the tires, how is the car performing with 32 temperature? Now, if the tire temperatures go up to, imagine, 35, how is the car performing then? Same ways in like a dirt autocross. Come in, your filter gets clogged up. Come out, take out your filter, clean your filter, reduce your tire pressure, take out your interiors, strip down the weight, all that. That doesn't happen. So that's sad.
And you just mentioned something about, just about 5 minutes back, about tuning. I mean, generally you were talking about something else and you mentioned tuning, and off camera we were also talking in detail about how, you know, people out here in our region, Northern India, compared to people down south, the understanding of tuning is poles apart.
Correct.
Can you elaborate on that out of your experience?
So see, with my experience, what I have learned, a good tuner has to be a driver before getting into tuning. Now again, there are 2 different types of tuners. There are some tuners who only build street cars. Then there are some tuners who build race cars. So now again, they also have 2 different clienteles. One is, okay, I want to build a race car. One is, I want to build a street car that I have to take for car meets. So for people like who want to take the car to car meets, so they'll go to tuner, they'll say, oh, give me a pops and bangs this thing tune, so that people look at my car, they make some stories, they put it on Instagram. Okay, my car looks cool with that. Whenever I lift off, the car's popping, that looks cool. But now coming into racing, you can't just go to tuner and say put in a good map. You also have to work on the handling, on your gear ratios, your ECU tuning. Now imagine for a race driver, one is that you're racing somewhere in Delhi. There's a separate kind of tune that the car needs to run here. Then imagine you're doing a rally up in the mountains. The oxygen level is less, so the car needs a different tune. So you ask your tuner to put in a separate tune for that. So that's the major difference. And plus, when it comes to racing, but if a tuner has not driven before comparatively, he won't understand what feedback am I giving. Like tomorrow, if I come out of a stage, I give a feedback to my tuner that okay, this is something that I feel is wrong with the car. Tomorrow, if a tuner has been a driver, he can understand my driving style and the setup of the car. But for a tuner who's never driven, he'll only understand how the equipment is working. He won't collaborate my feedback and my driving style according to the setup. So that's where two tuners go like poles apart.
So I'm sure you've experienced something like this. That's why you're also able to talk about it. But can you give us an example? Because I think that will be way more relatable to other people about what exactly you're mentioning about the tuner. So, why is it important for a tuner to be a driver first?
Okay, so imagine a tuner who's never driven before, he's just a tuner. As a driver, I like my car to be rotaty. Rotaty in the sense that I want more rotation from the tail. I don't want a car that's too stiff and like understeery. So when I come out of a stage, if I tell my tuner, okay, the car is not rotating enough, he'll change the setup. Now with the tuner who's been into driving, he'll tell me, okay, you might be doing this wrong in your driving. The setup might be okay, but the driving might be wrong. So as a driver also, you have to adapt to certain conditions and to the track and to your car. Like if I'm running a stiff setup, I know how to handle a stiff setup car. If there's a soft setup done on the car, I know what to do and how to turn the car. So that's how that's why I have this major issue with tuners and stuff. Like when I come and say that, okay, the car's understeery, okay, he might change the low speed settings. But there might be a small chance that I might be turning, pressing the brake late or very early, or turning the car much before it's required to. So a tuner who's a driver can catch that. A tuner who's not driven will not catch that. So that's like a major thing that has to be understood with tuners and drivers. So even in my rallies, I'll speak to my tuner, then I'll also sit down with my mechanics. I'll also learn, okay, what are they changing in the car. Then there are two separate stages. Like imagine one is a high speed stage, one is a stage where there are a lot of bumpy section, where like a rough stage. So I'll have two different setups. Now as a driver also, I also should know that how to change the setup. Now to change the setup, first thing what's most important is I have to understand the car. Tomorrow if I don't understand the car, what the car is doing, what feedback can I give? Tomorrow when I don't understand the dynamics of the car, I'll say some rubbish to my tuner and he'll do something else and the car will become even worse. And then I'll say, okay, something's off, and we'll never get to know.
You'll never get to know.
You'll never get to know what's been wrong. So that's why, why majorly I focus on this point, that when you drive, one must go through the car, one must understand what every component of the car is doing. Like to such a level, even if your tire pressure is less, one should realize, okay, the car sitting low, the tire pressures are off. Even if it's high, you should know, okay, there's too much of tire pressure, we have to reduce it. Even from the suspension, okay, if it's too stiff, if it's too soft. So one should actually realize and come up to a point that they give the right feedback to the tuner.
Of course.
So it has to be both ways.